organizer for the ZFAV Club, and we're here at ZCon 4 in Barcelona, live, talking to whoever wants to talk to me. And
I want to talk to you, Ryan.
Alex, I want to talk to you too. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's always nice to get this underway. You know, like after all, so much planning and so much stress, and it takes so long, and then you finally get to get it rolling, and then all the problems start, and you get to fix problems, and then it's done. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it all flies by in a big blur.
Parts of it fly by, parts of it go kind of slow, but today has been awesome. Like really fun engagement, good food, good drink. This location is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's so excited to be in Barcelona.
Yeah, totally. And the weather is great. The sun is out. Like Zuko said, we don't necessarily get out of the hotel as often as we would like.
True.
But with the activities that have been going on today, with the panels, with the presentations, it's been amazing. Dense and diverse information, a lot to absorb, and the 2 tracks at the same time. And your role in all of this is then organizing. Like, tell us about what you do at the foundation with regard to ZCon.
Sure. So yeah, I'm the Chief Operating Officer, which means that my job is everything that's not engineering. So all the stuff that most people probably think is it's the less sexy, less interesting stuff that kind of makes like the trains run on time. But I love it. It's like my passion. My whole team, you know, Danica and Dan, and John and Dee. Like, it's really cool to see everybody be so proud of the work we're able to do. And so, like, on a daily basis, we support ZCG. We, you know, run HR for ZF and do again all the non-engineering stuff. But we get to support all the people making super cool stuff, like whether it's through grants, supporting ZFAV Club.
I was about to say, like, I literally couldn't have done this without you, without Zcash Foundation. And when I came to ZF and pitched the idea to you and to Dan and Danica, I was sure that it was nuts. And I'm like, okay, but if anyone is going to actually fund this thing, then it's ZF, because like we've worked together so much.
Yep.
And the values, the benefit of what the AV Club is hoping to do
and has done
is in line with so much of what Zcash Foundation wants to do with the mission and the main values.
Yeah, one thing that's really cool, and I'm really proud of you guys for, like the whole AV Club crew, is that so many organizations struggle with inclusion in like audio visual stuff, and so like all of the translation work that's being done, and then all the work that's being done in native, you know, languages as opposed to doing it in English like we do everything, makes all of this so much more accessible, and it's not an afterthought. It's not just like hitting subtitles on YouTube, which is a first good step. You guys are doing so much more, and you're being so successful in it, and you're opening up Zcash to, not just Zcash, but you're opening up AV stuff and Zcash to so many people who wouldn't have that access otherwise. And things are being created now in those languages first, and then English second, which is like incredibly cool. And I don't know, I doubt you all understand how unique that is. You know, I've worked in nonprofits for a very long time at this point, and it's a struggle for every nonprofit to reach the communities and audiences that they're trying to reach, and they do it pretty poorly. You guys started there and started doing it in a really effective way, which is super cool. So, and you're just getting started. I mean, like when do you say ZFAV Club started?
Well, watch my talk in
Okay.
2 days.
I mean, if I'm not busy, I'll
yeah.
Of course,
So
I'm gonna be there.
I am giving a presentation on, I believe it's Tuesday, about the first 6 months of the Zcash Foundation Audiovisual Club.
Okay.
And when I was starting to write the talk, without doing too many spoilers, when I was starting to write the talk, that was the first question I had. It was like, when did this start? Because I had to go back in my personal history, because so much of what I was working on in the past, with my live streaming, but also with languages. I was in charge of managing all the translations for Z.Cash and the ECC assets. So that for me was just, it was already on the tip of my mind, and it was something I knew that we needed to do, and it doesn't necessarily correlate with audio-visual, but for me, as content creators, as audio-visual storytellers, human language is the thing. Like, we have to start there, so that we can communicate with each other. And I had a feeling that the Zcash community was much bigger than we were seeing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It allows people to be seen and heard that wouldn't be seen and heard otherwise necessarily, and then you get to see how big that community is and then grow it from there. I mean, in the ZCons I've been involved in, this is absolutely the most diverse ZCon ever in presenters, attendees, and then obviously the languages that are being streamed in. It's really amazing. To think that Zcash is only in English is just like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, or any cryptocurrency for that matter, like the whole point is to transcend borders, transcend governments, transcend, challenges. I mean, that's going to be done in many different languages, obviously. So that's super cool.
Yeah, it's interesting that here we want to be able to send money to whoever and be able to communicate in that way, because that transaction is still messaging, this is still communication. But so many other projects don't look at how do we have respect for these other cultures and for these other communities that want to be a part of what we're doing. And how do we, not necessarily, it's for me, it doesn't necessarily feel like inclusion so much as just like creating space and providing the tools to be able to enable people, to empower.
I think that's actually inclusion. I mean, that's how I would define inclusion in this sense, but I think what would be a real success is next year when we do the next in-person ZCon, if our panels are like extremely diverse, because there's so many people from so many different communities involved, and not just in a specific part of the ecosystem, but like if we have a grantee panel, it's super diverse. If we have let's be honest, we had a kind of a town hall today, and it was not diverse in any way, right? And that's a bummer. And it's not. If we're going to be successful and we're going to really, see to fruition like the power of Zcash and the possibility, then these panels should be reflective of many different communities. And there's nothing. The only thing that's stopping us from doing that is being able to transact in languages that we're unable to today. But you guys, more than anyone, you're the ones putting the most effort into this, are going to make that possible. And that's like, I don't know, I think it's incredible, and it really is super impactful. And you make it look easy, but I also know, sitting through your testing yesterday, and you guys are overcoming challenges every time you sit down to do anything, and you don't give up, which is amazing to me that you're always fiddling, you're always, what does this button do? You know what I mean? Or like yesterday, I watched you, with the different settings of the camera, you are as curious as anybody, even though you have the most amount of knowledge or significant amount of knowledge. Experience, yeah. But you are the most, one of the most curious still. So that vibe carries through, everybody you talk to. I find it really inspiring, AV stuff in general. I don't have the patience to do a lot of the things that you all do, but I love watching it. I'm inspired by watching you do it and then seeing, so often you guys will do something, I'll see the start, and the end, the finished product is nothing like I envisioned the start, but it was seeing where you begin. Yeah, I mean, you must feel that too, right? If you really think about the journey sometimes, it's never straight, it's bumpy as hell, right?
It is, and especially because the ZFAV Club is a decentralized effort. It is a crazy amount of effort that we're all putting into this, but we're all putting it into it. And we're all working on whatever it is that we want, what we're curious about. And I try to just kind of create an environment where that's possible. So one of the keys is having regular meetings, and not your typical, we have regular meetings on every Tuesday at the same time at 1700 UTC, and then on Wednesdays we have a workshop where we literally just try to break stuff. And it's or we'll be curious about a certain application. And we started like for the first time, and we're demoing it together and playing with it together. And now we have multiple minds troubleshooting and learning. And then in the time between these workshops, then one person in the club might be super curious about solving one little problem that we had, or trying some other idea that they had that we could use that application or that tool for, and then they come back next week with some sort of solution to this. And perfect example is the language translation stuff that we were working on, and this is where the story for me is also over time. Like it doesn't start when I picture it to be at the beginning, is not at all where it ends up. And Raumar's stream in Spanish, the Zcon en Español stream, is a really good example of that, because that sort of started with John, and he was hacking on some language stuff so that he could understand the Spanish meetups that were happening on FreeBSD, I believe. And then he came to the ZFAV meeting and he was like, hey, look at this thing that now we can route audio into like Google Translate and from a YouTube video, and it does the transcription and the translation. And that because we're so many people working on it, and we have active live projects to hack on this stuff with. Zcon Voces was the first example of this.
Yeah.
And John had demoed his project like a week before Zcon Voces or something like that. And but this was a chance for us to really like test in the wild.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid of breaking stuff because we do it all the time. And it's the same thing that happened yesterday. We were planning on doing this type of setup yesterday, and I show up, and flexibility is the name of the game for me. And so I show up and I'm like, okay, nothing's working. That's fine. We spent 3 hours troubleshooting, solve all sorts of problems. And then today we found this great space where we could do what we wanted to do, and we're prepared. And the whole team is now here behind the camera, hiding. That used to be my job.
And I gotta tell you mentioned John, and Dan, who's behind the laptop over here, will tell you that we have a huddle every Monday, like my ops team at ZF, and we go around and just say what we've been up to, if we need anything from anybody for next week. And I love John's updates more than anybody, because he comes through with the most random stuff all the time, and it's always like, one Monday he'll be like, I've been working on this thing, it's not really working. So then I did this other thing, it's not really working. I'm gonna try this thing this week, and then the next Monday he's like, I totally fixed that thing I was working on. And it's just like he's so tenacious in this quiet, like kind of just very, very like consistent way. Like I can just picture him hacking away, and then like he gets it, shares it with everybody else, then it comes on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. It fascinates me because again, I don't have that kind of patience. It's not my thing, but I just love hearing the process. Because honestly I find it super inspiring, and I can see how I can kind of apply it to the work I do, which isn't very creative for the most part. It's not, again, it's not the most exciting parts of ZF's work or any organization's work, but the work I do enables creative people and engineers and everybody else to do their work. That way, they don't have to worry about it. They're getting paid, they're getting the resources they need, and that makes me happy. And then that's, you had asked before about what my role is for Zcon. I guess I'm responsible for all this ultimately. If it succeeds, the whole team gets to take credit for it, which is fantastic, and everybody deserves it. And if it was to fail, I probably would fall on that sword and take all the credit for that. But there's no way it would fail, because everybody puts so much work into this. Like anybody who's ever put on an event, any event, a wedding or a birthday party, like whatever it is, there's a stress involved in that. I don't actually feel any stress putting on Zcon because I love working through it with my team. Because everybody's so passionate about doing better than last time. And I have to tell you, like, anybody that was in Vegas, like, we were really, really proud of Vegas. Now looking back after what we're doing here, I'm so proud of it, but like, I'm more proud of this, and then next time we do it, we'll be, more proud of that. And I think that's like, it's fun, and it's cool, and I think we're really fortunate we get to do this work that, we get to do something we're passionate about, but also use our very unique skill sets. Danica, who's on our team, has a very unique skill set that doesn't include creative things until she goes and does a creative thing, and she's like, hey, wait, I'm good at this too. Or Dan, who's amazing at AV stuff and community building. He's had to learn other skills on our team, and he's crushing it on that. And so, like, I don't know, I feel very fortunate. I get to work with the people I get to work with and support, you know, the people I get to support, including you, and in the AV Club crew. It's really neat. And I think if more people felt the way we all do about like getting satisfaction out of supporting other people, I think that's actually a really huge part of the AV Club. You get satisfaction learning new things, solving problems, but there's no question you get satisfaction out of seeing other people succeeding, that you got to help them, you know, to help them get there. And I think that's like lost in a lot of situations, unfortunately, especially like corporate situations for sure.
Yeah.
And we're trying to do something, you know, that we really believe in. You know, like seeing Zcash spread and evolve and just get better and more impactful.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This idea of supporting each other and the reward that we get from that. Me personally, the reward that I get when one of the people who I collaborate with in the ZFAV Club gets really enthusiastic about something, and like Fralmar is a great example who I keep mentioning.
I know his name keeps coming up, even in our meetings his name has come up so often lately.
Yeah,
he's crushing it.
He is, and he was watching our meetups and our meetings, and we were talking about the automatic translation, live translation stuff, and for him it was just it inspired him to go on and to do what he's doing today and what he's doing this whole week. And another example is Ender, who came into the ZFAV Club Discord and was like, hey, how can I help? This is the type of stuff I'm into. Brand happens to be one of his specialties, and so he made sure that the ZFAV brand was on point before ZCon 4. And this was a project that I'm not experienced with brand work, and I don't necessarily have time to do it. Like the brand work that was done for ZFAV at the beginning of the year, basically the logos and color choices and things, and then some mid-journey pictures, that was kind of all that I had time to do. And
which were really cool, by the way. I mean, but it's evolving.
It is. It's evolving, and it's evolving out of my control, which I absolutely love. It's evolving to be this inclusive community of people who are designing the AV Club by participating, by playing with us, essentially.
That's super cool. One thing I should mention too is that Dodger on a panel today mentioned we're going to be relaunching or launching the next cohort of the ZF Minor grants, which I think 25,000 is what we did last time, with a pot of 75,000 total. And so it would be awesome. I think the next evolution or the next like success step would be to get somebodies from the AV Club background who've come through AV Club to get one of those minor grants would be really cool. And then they can kind of pay it forward to the next group. And I mean, that really is the point of doing this. And that's the other thing too, like to see synergy between ZCon, ZF AV Club, ZF minor grants. Like isn't this what we're supposed to be doing here? And seeing everybody posting on the forum and Discord and elsewhere, and like being super stoked about sharing, you know, Zcash en Español and all the different things that are being shared. It's everywhere, and it's been a short 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm unsurprised at the success. Like, I truly am. Your passion for this stuff and your vision was clear. I mean, we said yes pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
Because it was easy. It was an easy thing to say
almost
yes
too
to.
quick. I'm like, there's a no coming somewhere down the line. It was just,
I don't like saying no. Like, if there's a chance to say yes, I'm gonna say yes. And this was you're making my yes seem easy and smart. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And really that point that you made about giving people opportunities to move into the Zcash ecosystem through the Zec economy and apply for minor grants with projects that they've built, that they've started, or projects they've been inspired by within the ZFAV Club, be able to move into minor grants, be able to move into major grants, and who knows what else. Like, there's job opportunities abound, and free to see with the crowdfunding model that they have. I think all of this, like, I want the AV Club to be a part of that ecosystem, not even necessarily a springboard of it, because we're doing a lot of work with the Zcash grantees. And in fact, one of the first grantees that we had a collaboration with was Zcast, who received a Zcash minor grant, the Zcash Foundation minor grant. And they started producing their podcast in Spanish, and we were working on human languages, and podcasting is fully AV, and I'm like, this needs to be highlighted. I want to talk to these folks.
Yep.
And now they're here. We actually started this live stream in Spanish for the first like 20 or 30 minutes.
Oh,
and they were talking, and then I came on and we started talking a bit more and had this multilingual conversation going on, and I think like it's been really awesome to be able to embrace that part of the community, and now I'm looking forward to turning it back around and being able to support those the individuals, the groups that are coming through ZFAP that we're working with, and their ideas, and being able to get funding for their ideas.
No, yeah, for sure. One really cool thing about my job is I get to see the whole ecosystem at like 30,000 feet, because I have my fingers in all sorts of different things because of my role. And so like today, listening to Ian's talk, which I highly suggest everybody check out, talking about like how to bring more people into the ecosystem, how to decentralize through, you know, all these smaller players that can turn into bigger players, is like the perfect connection to what you guys are working on, and Zeal grants and all the other things we're talking about. So like the coolest thing about ZCon, and if you're able to attend, or at least at the very least able to attend online, but to be able to be here in person and make connections between these things, and it's not just like hypothetical. It's like you can listen to a talk, think about it, and then be like, oh, this is how I fit in. This is how I can become a part of this. Like, that's the point. And I feel like, I actually was talking to somebody outside a few minutes ago, and they were comparing ZCon to other, they go to 15 conferences a year, crypto conferences. Yeah, business pay for that, obviously, not a cheap thing. And I asked him to rate here, and he rated it an A+, and I was like, yeah, right, you give everything an A+. And he said, there's no sponsorship here, which is true. There's no vendors presenting or anything, which is true. It's just passionate people. And like Jack said this morning, this year especially, we've done our best with a lot of Dan's influence, to be totally fair, give Dan a little credit over here, that we were representing as many different groups and individuals in the ecosystem as possible. So it almost makes like a panel like we had this afternoon stand out even a little bit more, because it was so kind of undiverse, where so many other of our panels today, or presenters, were from every corner of the Zcash ecosystem. And that, like, how could you have a crypto project and not have that? Yeah, a successful crypto project and not have that. So, and we're just getting started. You know what I mean? Like, it still feels like this portion of Zcash is just getting started. Yeah. And that's pretty exciting. I think it's the most exciting part of the ecosystem. I mean, it's just actually a dumb thing to say. It's obviously the most exciting part of the ecosystem, if nothing else, because of the passion that really brings. And you know, you all, everybody, I know people can't see who I'm looking at over here, but the people in this room all are taking their personal time, and they can be doing anything with that time, and they choose to spend it with you and each other, and you know, building this thing, which is super, super cool. So like, congrats to everybody. Like, it is inspiring, and not just to me. We talk about this, you know, on a fairly regular basis in ZF. It is inspiring to see, and I think it pushes us to be more inclusive. Like, really think through, how do we support, you know, these different projects. And we were super stoked on Zcash Brazil, you know, like getting Zcash Voices. And we really, really want to do another one. Hopefully our treasury allows for that in the next year. My dream is to do one on the African continent, possibly Nigeria, possibly elsewhere, and really get a new kind of flavor and vibe into what we're all doing here, and influence, and not just in a way that's like, hey, we did it. Hey, we did something in Africa, or hey, we did something in Brazil. Like, you know, hey, this is the start. It's not just like planting a flag. It's like starting to build the foundation, or build on the foundation that's already started to be built, and really build something up. Is, I don't know. Zcash Brazil's made it look easy, which I know it's not easy. I can't imagine how much work has gone into it, but from the outside perspective, it's just like caught fire and just exploded, and like, don't get me wrong, I know how much hard work, I don't know how much hard work, I can only imagine how much hard work goes into it, but it's amazing how easy it's looked because the community is just like so together and bonded and like passionate. I mean,
Yeah.
super passionate.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would like if we could get some Zcash Brazil folks up here,
Yeah.
and maybe you just take the stream over and start speaking Portuguese about what we're
Let's
up
go.
to at ZCon, and speak to the Zcash Brazil audience who couldn't make it.
Somebody come take my pen, Mike.
Wait, I have a couple more questions for you while you're here, while they decide if
I'm
they're
not
doing
going
it. And so hobbies to distract you from Zcash.
Yeah, I cook a lot. I do a lot of cooking, which my family appreciates. A lot of music. I'm super into going to concerts, and I live in an area where there's lots of great shows, and we spend a huge amount of time outside, getting to explore all the neighborhoods in our city, and then to come somewhere like Barcelona and get to like translate that to wandering around these areas and like, you know, we've walked down more back alleys and gotten funny looks like, hey, how did we discover this restaurant, or like that. It's just so much fun to experience other cultures in a way that for a brief second you feel like this is my neighborhood, like this is my local bar, this is my, you know, like this I feel so comfortable being here. It's just like, it's awesome, it's so much fun. So yeah, it's just to go do something new and do something like inspiring, really.
Yeah, nice. That's really good. That's a good way to break out and not burn out.
Yeah, pretty much all surrounding food. I mean,
Yeah.
food is the common denominator between all those
It is,
things.
yeah. I was talking to Aditya here earlier, and he also cooks. And his hobbies were cooking and running marathons. And I was like, oh, it's health and getting away from the screen. And
I just learned that about Adi, and I gotta tell you, like, I have a huge amount of respect for artists and marathon runners.
Mm.
I can't imagine what it takes to run a marathon.
Mhm.
Like, that is so far from anything I
I
would
never
ever
would
do.
even consider it.
No, yeah, it's like not even. I wouldn't either. I would for a second and then be like, no, what am I doing?
Uh-huh.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I did a 5K once. Yeah, and I still remember how much it hurt. So I don't forget how long a marathon is, 20 whatever miles. Yeah, that sounds rough. I'm gonna have to talk to Adi about that. Maybe he'll inspire me to do stuff.
Yeah, or at least to like go for a jog.
Yeah, or walk fast.
Walk
maybe
fast.
maybe a fast walk.
Let's start there on the beach.
Yeah, let's not be too crazy. Right?
Yeah.
But
Cool.
thanks, man.
Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the amazing event and all the work that you're doing here. And thanks again for your support of the Zcash Foundation Audiovisual Club.
Of course, man. Just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So let's switch languages once again.